Yeah, he can do
We
that.
are recording.
Let's work on that later. I should be able to do that. Okay. Okay, I gotta go. Okay. Okay, thanks, bye.
Thanks, Michael.
All right. No worries. You got the con.
Okay. So thank you for doing this. And today is June 7th, 2021, 77 years after D-Day. And I'm Riley Temple, head of the African American Episcopal Historical Archive located at Virginia Theological Seminary. And with me today is Michael K. Powell, who has graciously agreed to sit for an oral history interview with the AAEHC to discuss his stunningly accomplished life, and especially the role of the Episcopal Church in helping to shape and form him. Micah, thank you for being here. And I thought that initially we would focus on your early years and background.
Okay.
So these are going to be some fairly basic questions initially. Your family is famously attached to and associated with the military and the armed forces. Where were you and when were you born?
Well, I was born in Birmingham, Alabama, in the notable year of 1963. I was in Birmingham. My mother was in Birmingham living with her parents because my father had deployed to Vietnam and was going to be gone at the time of my birth, which he was. I actually didn't meet him till I was almost 10 months old. So I was born in March of 1963 in Birmingham, Alabama.
Wow.
Summer of the church bombing.
Yeah. And you see, there was a demonstration that April. Martin Luther King wrote a letter from Birmingham.
You know, we were very connected on the periphery of all of that. My grandfather, Robert Johnson, was the principal of the main black high school in Birmingham. Had somewhat of an issue with all the kids being pulled out to go protest for King's March, interestingly enough. My mother had me as an infant in church with her. At the moment the 16th Street Baptist Church blew up, we were 4 blocks away.
She could hear it.
Oh, she could hear it. And my grandfather, who heard about it, had sent some young men to find her and get her out of town. She tells the story of putting me in the chair and driving right past the church, the 16th Street Church. And then those 4 little girls were very, very well known to our family, essentially almost like godfather relationships. My grandma was quite a civil rights leader, and she essentially integrated the Girl Scouts of America. She was a professional executive of the Girl Scouts in Alabama. So all of those little girls had been part of her troop and her grooming and had been to their camps. And one of the fathers was a famous photographer, sort of took pictures of all the black families. And I remember very clearly photographs with his signature on them throughout the house.
Yes. Every community had one, right?
Every community had one, yeah.
Yeah. And what was your mother's church?
You know, I don't know what the name of the church was. You should ask.
Are you now you have 2 sisters, right?
I have 2 great younger sisters, yes.
Okay, so you're the eldest.
I am the oldest.
And how long did you live in Birmingham? What was life like for you growing up? And how long were you in Birmingham with you and your mom and your sisters? And I guess when did your father come back? When did y'all leave Birmingham?
well, I was born, I think when he came home from Vietnam, which was within the year, we probably left soon thereafter.
Mhm.
You know, my mother grew up in Birmingham, so she was a native really.
Mhm.
But, you know, my sisters weren't born yet on that forced tour. But interestingly enough, we had to do it a second time. My father went to Vietnam a second time, and we went back to Birmingham a second time.
Wow.
My mother lived with her sister, and I was probably 6 years old, 5 or 6.
Mhm.
Let me see, probably 68. So maybe I was 5 or 6. And my sister Linda was born and she was 3 or 4. So we lived there a full year that second time.
Yeah.
Together. And my youngest sister, who's much younger than the two of us, she's 7 years younger than me, Anne Marie. So she wasn't born yet when we were living in Alabama.
Mhm. And so were you in military in school on the military base, or were you so you were in segregated schools?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't have a strong memory of the school, but the year that we were there, of course, the first year I was an infant, didn't matter.
Right.
The second time we were there a good school year, so we were just in whatever public school uh, my aunt Barbara, who we were living with, whatever her school district was,
Uh-huh.
and she was a teacher. She was a librarian, and ultimately pretty prominent. I think she was the librarian of one of the Alabama universities eventually.
Mhm.
So yeah, we were in school, whatever the public school was, and I'm sure it was segregated
Yeah.
in 68, 67, 68.
And oh my good, formative years. Who do you recall as people who were most influential on your earliest years, in your earliest years? Clearly your parents, of course.
Kind of elementary school years.
Yeah.
Um, Absolutely my parents, but I would also, if I were really being clear about this, my mother above all. I mean, my father was really, if you think about it, by the age of 6, there were 2 full years of my life he wasn't even there. I mean, he was in a war zone somewhere. So he's a bit, I don't want to say a stranger, but little bit of a, in my young years, a little bit more, less intimate, really. My mother, was there every day. And in many ways, my mother is the one who first threw a baseball with me. My mother was the first one to take me to Cub Scouts. My mother was the one holding down the fort, through those years. And I think because we didn't spend a ton of time, of course, but we did spend a year in Birmingham. Plus, we would often go to Birmingham in the summers. So my mother was from there. So there was sort of this ethos, this sort of aura, this sort of zeitgeist of Alabama South that kind of radiated around her sister, and my grandparents, who were surprisingly prominent and plucky. I mean, my grandfather was quite a tough son of a bitch. I mean, you see these movies like Stand and Deliver when you read about these hardcore tough Black principals or Hispanic principals in some Hard Knock. That was him. I mean, people admired him, feared him, lionized him. I mean, he was principal for something like 40 something years.
Wow.
I mean, people to this day said, oh, Parker High School. Oh, is your grandfather Robert Johnson? Like, they'll know. oh, Bob Johnson. Yeah.
Did you know your dad's parents?
I did.
Luther?
I did it. Yes, Luther Theophilus Powell. That name. And my grandmother, Maud Ariel Powell, who lived in New York, of course. And I knew them. They were a little less prominent in my early childhood just because,
Yeah.
My father was gone. But, we were classic in that you went to see each set of grandparents at least once a year, basically.
Right.
So, and that's all you saw, so we did go to New York frequently to see them. But it was really, it's a tale of two cultures. I mean, one is sort of Black Southern Alabama, and one is the streets of New York, in and of itself, a kind of cultural milieu. And then, they were Jamaicans, first generation Jamaicans, which had a very completely different makeup in terms of the way they looked at the world in some ways.
What do you mean?
Well, you know what? I don't know this for certain, but I think if I asked my grandfather and grandmother if they were sitting here on my shoulder, I don't think they thought they were Black.
Mm-hmm.
I think they thought they were Jamaican immigrants, and they didn't associate that with Black America. And that was pretty common as very light-skinned immigrants. Because in Jamaica, there's its own form of class segregation around skin tone. Everybody might be brown, but there was a difference between light brown and dark brown. No way around it.
Yeah.
Which is why I've always been intrigued with the degree to which my father very much had some elective choice in the matter, right? In an odd kind of way. And he really did embrace being Black American, like very early on, in a way that I think my Jamaican grandparents never did to their dying day, nor did my dad's sister really, who, my aunt, it's kind of interesting. I mean, kind of her branch of family kind of went a little bit toward that direction, and my father kind of went toward the other direction, kind of by their own choosing in some interesting ways. So it was very, very different. And then, of course, with my father identifying that way and marrying a Southern girl from Alabama, that sort of sealed that my family is a Black family. But, my first cousins from my father's side, I basically say they're white folks. I mean, they look it, they act it, and they live it. I mean, without any kind of consciousness about it, but it's completely different.
So were they still very much a part of that Jamaican milieu?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think maybe it was that your father came to Blackness via the way the outside world perceived him and treated him?
Yes, and I also think, look, he lived in the South Bronx.
Yeah.
And he was a young boy on the streets of the South Bronx. And, on the streets of the South Bronx, you're either an A, B, or C. You're either a Black guy, a Hispanic guy, a Jewish family, or you were the majority. And, he wasn't the majority on the streets of New York. He certainly wasn't Hispanic in origin or Latin in origin, So, I think I think the way he was treated and the culture of where he grew up kind of dictated a category. But I would say he was he embraced that somewhat excitedly, not by default. Sometimes people say, well, did you choose that because you were treated that way, as if, well, you're treated like a Black man, so you must, it was more like, no, it was really something he also relished in a funny way. Like he wanted to be. And I think when he became attracted to ROTC and military service, I think he felt very comfortable in his skin being a Black soldier. I think that's what he wanted to be.
Go ahead.
I was only going to add, in blended families like that, it's quite interesting too, just sort of which features you get. I mean, I think my father also looks more naturally Black than his sister does. I mean, if you put them side by side, you would know they're brother and sister, but you could easily say that's a Black guy and that's a white girl, because, he had the hair. He was darker than all of them, including his parents.
Yeah.
So I just think there was a little more, if anybody saw him in a store, there was no getting around what you were.
Right. Right.
So I think he just embraced it happily.
Right.
Fully.
And his military status, did you see yourself as a boy going into the military?
Probably yes. I mean, the military was really our life. I mean, we lived most of the time on Army bases. So, as an Army family, he wasn't just in the Army. We were in the Army too. We lived in Army housing 90% of the time. We lived on bases where, the military is its own class system. I mean, you lived in the housing development for officers of your rank.
Mm-hmm.
You were always cognizant of that. Particularly in those days, families were expected to be a major part of your career. They were at events, and you stood next to him at promotion ceremonies, and you went to church with him, and you did what he did for his career. I mean, here's my family. Family was and your behavior was an important part of his success too. I knew kids who got in all kinds of trouble and ruined their father's careers in the Army. That happened too.
Wow.
So, the Army sort of requires of you the best, not just in your skills and your vocational abilities, but your quality of character. And your family gets, at least it did then, I think it still does, gets wrapped into that assessment. And I also think the Army had a strong pull on me and us, because I think I could even feel it early on that he was viewed as special. Like, one of the beautiful things of the Army is they look for talent deep, like years in advance.
Yeah.
And I think by the time he was a mid-career officer, there was a sense of they're watching you.
Uh-huh.
They're grooming you. They're giving you the opportunities to fail or succeed. You're getting a command. You're getting this. You're going to get sent here. I think there were 25 years of stewarding his career to see if he'd become what he actually did become. So you could feel that.
But didn't you also feel that in civilian life and in your own life?
Yeah, but I suppose. But I would tell you, it is so much more intentional in the military. Like,
I see, right.
Because it is a very structured meritocracy, right? Where in civilian life, you might be able to be CEO at any age between 24 and 67. Well, you can't be a general 24 to 6. The military has a fairly structured approach to kind of elevation. Mm-hmm. And there's a pretty clear set of things you have to achieve to even be in contention. To be honest, it's a lot more honest and transparent about what's required to succeed than I think the civilian world is. Mm-hmm. But look, as a boy who loved his and made his father his hero, watching him walk around in uniforms is pretty special.
Yeah.
That gets to you. I mean, there's pictures of me on videos imitating the soldiers at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, marching back and forth in front of the house. So yes, I loved it. I loved the Army. And I think you were talking about segregation before. The Army was so much better at trying to break these barriers down at the time. So we always felt safer, welcomed, cared for, protected. As a senior officer, respected by subordinates, because whether the guy was a racist or not, if you're a colonel and he's not,
right,
there's no getting around the hierarchy there.
Right.
So for me, it was a liberating way to view America and age in America through that lens. And I wanted to be a soldier pretty badly by the time I was college bound.
And did y'all live domestically the whole time?
For my tenure at home, yes.
Okay.
One more time, my father got a command in Korea, which was called a hardship tour. You can't take your family. So once again, he left for a full year.
Right.
But we stayed in Virginia. So I never lived overseas with them because while I was young, there were wars that were counting as his overseas time. Now, my younger sister, you know, each had a different experience. My youngest sister lived in Germany with them.
Anne Marie.
Anne Marie did.
Yeah.
You know, she moved around with them more when he was a general. You know, by the time my father's a one-star general, I'm out of the house, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sort of out of the house. So
Yeah.
no,
So can we talk about your religious life?
Sure.
As a boy, what was that like?
So my first memory of it comes from my Jamaican parents' side. They were fairly openly religious and very, very regular in their church-going practice. And that very much translated to my father, which very much translated to the way we were raised. So we always went to church on Sunday, always. We always dressed to the nines to go to church. I mean, I had more church clothes than I had play clothes.
Yeah.
And Alma Vivian Powell wasn't letting you out of the house unless you looked like a Vogue model. And so let me tell you, I had the sweetest blazers from the age of 4 on. I mean, not just like kids today, some shirt with sleeves and a tie, the full thing, you know, sport coats, slacks, the right shoes, everything.
She was a Southern girl.
Oh, Southern, very, very much.
Mm-hmm.
Combined with kind of the Jamaican Anglican high church.
Oh, it was high church.
Oh, high church.
Oh, that's right, of course.
Because, you know, the Jamaicans, it's that British Anglican incense, the whole, you know, formal. So, yeah, we were
bowing and crossing and yeah.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, my grandfather, Luther, was very active. He was the senior warden of his church.
Of course.
And my father also became senior warden of his church.
Of course.
And a great story, which he reminded me of the other day, they were both senior wardens of Episcopal churches called St. Margaret's at exactly the same time. So he was senior warden of St. Margaret's in New York, and my dad was senior warden of St. Margaret's in Woodbridge.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I did. My strongest memories are when we were in elementary school in this area in Virginia, and we found a church, St. Margaret's.
Where was it, Michael?
It was in Woodbridge, Virginia.
Yeah.
We lived in Dale City, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
My parents went looking for a church, and I forgot how they found this place. But it's one of those places that just is wonderful, magical, like such a great community of people. And the pastor, I remember him well, Father Calkins, was dynamic, loving, come visit you at your house. So it was really one of our sort of circles of community that we relished, protected, and participated in, right? Mm-hmm. Potluck dinners at church. You know, my sisters, I think, Anne was baptized in it. I know she was born then. We were all I was an acolyte. Yeah, I mean, we'd be there on Sunday, but we'd be there during the day. And then when my father became part of the church, whatever they called it, council, or was the senior warden, we'd go up there a lot. He'd like, vestry, come on, we gotta, vestry. We'd go paint the church. You know, we'd go be part of the crew decorating for Christmas, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, hanging the greens. Now, when you say you were an acolyte, what were your duties? Were you a thurifer, the incense?
So you'll love this. The the acolyte program at St. Margaret's was incredibly hierarchical, much like the military.
God.
So when you first joined, and I'm fuzzy on all these details, we literally, Riley, you were given a cross to wear that was handmade. I remember this clearly. It was a ribbon, and it was this wooden circle. Frankly, I think they were like curtain rings, but and they were painted red. I'll never forget. And then there was like a resin, kind of like a glass resin that was poured in the round circle with a cross embedded in the glass. And your ribbon was a color based on your rank. So when you're kind of a newbie, you had a white ribbon. And if you were a white, I don't know if we had names for each of these ranks, but if you were the white ribbon acolyte, you were new. There were only certain functions you could do, very limited. You could carry the cross in the procession.
Did you like that?
Oh, I did. I really did.
And was
we had the full outfits. I loved the outfits. We had, and if you were a white acolyte, you only wore the white. There was a white acolyte robe for carrying the cross, and that's all you wore. Because later we got to wear the red with the white over it.
Yeah.
You know these things.
Right. So when in a high church, of course, when you carry your cross, people are bowing as you pass.
Yes, we bowed.
Okay.
We did indeed bow. You bowed when the cross came through. You bowed when the cross left.
That was a lot of power for you, Michael, when people bowing.
There's a lot of power. Now, of course, me being an overachiever, I ascended my way all the way up to the gold ribbon acolyte, the highest ranking acolyte you could be. And I think that when you were gold is when you could assist in serving communion. So you were up at the altar helping with everything. And you could walk along with the priest during the
as he's serving.
And I remember thinking I had made it.
Yeah.
I remember thinking I had really made it when I was gold.
Yeah. And was this an integrated church racially?
It was.
Yeah.
I think that was also, I've only learned a lot of this late in life, but my parents, I think they found the church because they went looking for a welcoming, integrated.
Yeah.
I think they tried several things along the way. And I think it was less by accident than I thought. Like, I think they were quite intentional about finding that. And I remember feeling the whole time, we were there for 7 or 8 years. I remember the whole time of being there, I felt completely at home. To be honest with you, to this day, every now and then, usually at Christmas time, me and Lynn, my sister, we'll get in the car and go find it.
Yeah.
And sit in the park. We literally will sit in the parking lot and just look at it for a little while.
Oh.
And remember.
Oh. Now, the theater of Episcopal ritual, do you think that that's what awakened your interest in in theater, or well, Anne Marie is in entertainment too, isn't she? Or the creative world.
All Powells at some fundamental level are theatrical hands.
Okay. Yeah.
I will say, I love this question because I was thinking about this the other day, the power of ritual and ceremony. And I very much love and gravitate to that. And I think, yes, I loved the theater of the church. If I can say that without sounding trivializing, but
no, it's not true.
I loved the romance of that. I loved the bell ringing. I loved the ritualistic, reading of the hymn. I just really did. And so my sisters did too. And I think we had this, if you think about it, we had the same thing in the Army. There's a kind of ritualistic changing of command, structure. There's theater in this world of soldiers too. And then, in school, real theater was appealing probably for very similar reasons. Absolutely.
Now, when you went to William and Mary, why William and Mary, by the way?
I wish it was the product of a lot of rational forethought, but we were living in Northern Virginia at the time as college came up. I didn't really have a great set of clear ideas about where I wanted to go. My parents' colleges weren't in the mix as being appealing for various reasons. So I had a lot of eclectic interests too. Like part of me was interested in the military. So I applied to all the academies, West Point.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I loved theater. I came this close to going off to study Broadway lighting design. I remember when I said to my father, he wanted to take me on a college tour. I said, okay, we have to go see West Point and SUNY Purchase where they have the lighting design program. This was the juxtaposition of our trip.
Was that the best one in the country at the time?
I don't know if it was the best one, but it was a very prominent school that had lighting I loved lighting. I still do for some reason.
Yeah,
and,
me too.
I just do. And I did it a lot in high school. Long story short, I was in theater, very active theater in high school. And this Black woman who was a good friend of mine, she was 2 years ahead of me. She's a talented little actress, and she just was strong-willed. I liked her a lot. And she was kind of one of my really important Black friends, if I can say that. Like, she didn't have that many. Because I grew up in very integrated environments. So sometimes finding a Black friend was not as easy as you might think, because you were kind of in two worlds and you needed people who could be okay with that. But she was that person for me, and she went to William and Mary. And she was 2 years ahead of me. And so she was there while I was thinking about it. Now, I didn't think I would get in, so I applied early decision just so I could find out. To my shock, I got accepted, which of course got into my heart pretty quickly.
Yes, of course.
And now back to your question about theater and ceremony and ritual. I think something about William and Mary appeals to me for the same reason. The romance of an ancient pedigree, the beauty of buildings that have stood since the 18th century, the romance of the British Charter, the regalia, I still love all that stuff of William and Mary.
Pageantry,
I do love that. So I ended up getting an ROTC full year scholarship. So it kind of made it easy because I didn't have to go to West Point, but I had college paid for, and I kind of had the prestige of that, and it just seemed to come together in that way. And it made perfect sense. And it made perfect sense the whole time I was there.
And did you continue your relationship with the church while you were in college, or did you, like many other college students, take a sabbatical?
The consistency of it definitely took a hit, but I did go to Bruton Parish, which is,
of course,
the very famous ancient church in Williamsburg. And in fact, my girlfriend at the time, now wife of 33 years, was also Episcopal, and we'd go together in my freshman year. To Bruton Parish.
I didn't know that y'all had met so early.
Third day of freshman year.
Oh my goodness. That was awfully low church for you, though.
I mean, it had the look.
Yeah.
It didn't quite practice it the way I'd like to see it.
No.
And then you'll know better than me when they started changing the prayer books and stuff. It threw me off. That debate. I like the old way, so that's always been a sore spot in our family.
But we may be unfeignedly thankful.
Amen.
And and I used to look at this one. I said, "A manifold sins and wickedness, wickedness, wickedness."
Loved it, loved it, loved it.
Now you went right into the military.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What?
I was just going to say, you get my father going off about the prayer book changes and stuff. He'll lecture you up and down about.
Well, you know, I insist on morning prayer. I don't know about all this stuff about the Eucharist every Sunday. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, really. So you went right into the military after college, right? What year was that?
I graduated in 1985, so I went in the Army right away.
Were our troops deployed in action in 1985? That was peacetime, wasn't it?
It was peacetime, but the Cold War was still very serious.
Yes.
So, I became an armor officer and I went to armor school. And I graduated first in my class, which is apropos of nothing other than I got my choice of assignments.
Okay.
It was the best part.
Yeah.
I decided I wanted to go to these elite cavalry units which guard the borders of the Iron Curtain, basically East Germany, West Germany, or the Czechoslovakia German borders, which had, the Russian army was on one side and we were on the other side. And so you had a palpable sense of, you were at the front edge of World War III. I mean, we literally trained for that moment. I mean, we literally had real battle positions. We had real ammunition in our tanks. We kind of were prepared at a moment's notice for this to really happen. We really did go spy on Russians across the border. I mean, it had a very real sense of magnitude and seriousness. So I got to taste that world, near the end of it. But at that time, it was pretty real. So I wasn't at war, but I sort of felt like I kind of was in a war zone. It was sort of a strange feeling.
I probably shouldn't ask this question because it's way off the topic. But do you think we are in the same situation now with the Soviet Union? With Russia?
No, I think I think we're in a delicate situation with them, but I don't think it's the same.
Okay.
I think that they are way more diminished today than they were then.
Sure, of course.
I think their actual army, their actual physical force, I think is no meaningful match to the United States anymore. But they're still provocative. They still fancy themselves a great empire, even though they're probably not. And they think the US I think they're committed to the US form of government struggling and failing, even if it's for no other reason than to validate their own sense of the world and the way it should be, so that their defeat is not complete. I think it's a very bizarre psychological kind of war that they need more than we need for their own sense of importance. And then I would finally add the rise of cyber threat has re-equalized their danger to us. I'd be less fearful if they thought they could get on a ship and come over here and mess with us. But could they get on a computer and wreak havoc in American society? Yes, they could. As could the North Korean, so it's a new kind of, I'm of the view that I'm not sure physical war at a world war level is over forever. I'm not sure why anybody would bother with that.
I don't know. A little Cold War as opposed to a hot one.
Well, I think what I mean is you could have an equally disastrous war, I'm
Yeah,
not so sure it will involve hundreds of thousands of troops coming into the,
or bullets or bombs.
right. I think it'll be more a war that takes place in cyberspace in a way that wreaks havoc on a society. You could kill a lot of people just turning off the grid.
And far more lethal and insidious, right?
Yeah, and you can hide from it.
Now, when did you marry Jane? When did y'all get married? At what point? Right out of college?
No, no. After 2 years of dating, we stopped dating in college and kind of stayed friends. Junior and senior year, she started dating an older, serious relationship, and I had another girlfriend that was pretty serious, who was also an ROTC. So when we graduated, we were each with those people. I moved to Germany. She stayed here, so we were pretty separated.
Yeah.
Wrote a lot of letters, still have lots of letters back and forth as friends. Then there was a little beginning of a kind of, I came home for leave once and there was a little bit of a romantic spark, but it really, who knows where that was going. But I went back to Germany after vacation, and that's when I had my accident.
And how many years had you been in the military when you had your accident?
3. So I had this terrible accident, and then suddenly found myself for a year in the hospital here in Washington at Walter Reed.
Yeah.
When I got hurt, my mother called Jane and told her. Because she knew she was a good friend, and she said, he's flying into Andrews Air Force Base tomorrow. And I guess Jane said, well, can I come and be there? Can I see him? She said, yeah, you can come with me. So when I got off the airplane and got to the hospital, she was standing there. She was in the emergency room with my mom. And the nurses had warned her, because they said, look, he's going to look horrible. He weighs something like 300 pounds because of his blood loss and fluid buildup. And it's just prepare yourself. It's not going to be very pretty. So I remember rolling in and seeing her being kind of surprised. Of course, I was probably morphined out. I don't know. And I said something cute to her, like, oh, my back, will you scratch my back? I got an itch. And she says, I'll be right back. And she passed out. And they had to put her in a hospital room for a little while. But
Was that a metaphor?
Yeah.
I got an itch, you need to scratch it.
Like passed out.
Oh, no.
So the funny thing was, I was there for a very long time, and I could talk about this for hours, but after the initial, everybody's coming to see you from hinder and far when they hear you're hurt, after a month or so, no, but it's much less frequent. It's your family. But she would come every single night after work. She'd go to work, she'd leave work, she'd drive to the hospital, she'd show up about 7:30. She'd sneak in a sandwich or meatball sub or something for me. She'd visit for, an hour or so, and then she'd go home and she'd come back tomorrow. And this just kept happening. And of course, my old girlfriend's back in Germany, and that's kind of fallen apart because that, and but literally this went on for 6 months, a year, and then it kind of started becoming this obvious feeling like, if you can't marry your best friend, who can you marry?
Cool.
I mean, literally, that's the way it started to feel. And suddenly, out of nowhere, like right there in the hospital room, we're like, would you want to just get married? It just seemed like it made so much sense to us. And we were like, yeah. So the next thing we knew, we sort of, these other two were gone. And literally, I got out of the hospital in May, and we got married in October.
It's a very moving story, Michael.
And that was 33 years ago.
Wow. But the other truth of that story is your mother knew her son.
She did. She did. I wish I could write a book about my mother during that hospital stay. That woman, I don't know, the backbone, the emotional fortitude, the radiating of hope and joy in the dark. It like she, like Jane, who came in the evening, first thing in the morning, I'd wake up, doctors would, I'd start to have my breakfast, and here came my mother, day in, day out, through every hideous procedure, through every bad day, through every good day. I'm like, I don't know how people get through anything like this without this. And my sisters, same thing. They'd come in with the movies and they saved my life. I mean, I just think emotionally, mentally, you would have gone down the tubes. Would have gone down the tubes. Yeah, and she knew me. And I remember when she first met Jane's parents, she'd met Jane's parents before, briefly in the old days, but when we were going to get married, we had a little thing. And I'll never forget this. My mother walked right up to Jane's mother and she said, I want you to know something. My son has loved your daughter since the day he met her. And I've known it the whole time. And they've been best friends ever since, those two ladies. Life's funny that way.
Isn't it?
God sometimes sends it to you.
All the time. All right, I know you got it. Listen,
I'm good, and I'll go wherever you want.
okay. Are you currently a communicant in the church?
Occasionally. We occasionally go to Christ Church here in Old Town.
Oh, yeah.
The famous George Washington Church.
I know it. Who's the rector there now? Do you know? What's the child's name?
Her name is, she's really wonderful, actually. Her name is Noelle.
Yeah.
Something like Young Symington.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Last name is an S. Simmons. Noelle York Simmons, I think is her name.
Yeah.
Very dynamic. Gives a good sermon.
That's not high church either.
No, I don't see much high church anymore. I mean, not that no, it's not. And I have to tell you, maybe it shouldn't, but it's hard for me to stay consistent with casual church. I don't know why.
What's casual? Oh, you mean when people aren't dressing up and making it a special occasion?
I mean the whole thing, meaning a little bit of, like to this day, if I go to church, I put my suit on and go to church, That's a small part, but that's a part. The ceremony, I'm just a strange person. I think I need the ritual and to this day on Christmas Eve, I stay up late to watch the Pope's Mass. I do.
As a theater person, you'll understand the mystery. Asking questions that can't be answered.
That is exactly it. This is sort of like this thing I talk about a lot, the difference between a puzzle and a mystery. People tend to love puzzles because they think there's solutions. But mysteries are beautiful because there are no solutions. And it's the majesty of sort of dwelling in that mystery and pursuing with curiosity its parameters, but comfortable in the knowledge you will not fully have it realized. I am a lover of mystery more than I am of puzzles. That's a good description, Riley.
Do you read Walter Isaacson?
I know him very well, yes.
Do you read him?
I do. I like his books. His Da Vinci book is perhaps my all-time favorite. It just moved me. And Da Vinci was like that, right? So I like those kinds of characters, these values-based observers of the world, lovers of magic and mystery. And I'll tell you a quick, not a long story, quick. My surgeon, who I owe my life to, Walter Reed, Dr. Bruce Van Dam, there was this day where he kind of abruptly walked in my hospital room. He said, Michael, I just want to tell you, you do understand your military career is over, and I have to start processing you out of the Army. And just wanted to make sure you understood that. It broke my heart. I mean, I was in tears. My mother was mad that he had done that and said that. Called my father, who came over, was a 3-star general at the time. The surgeon's like a colonel, gets in his face and like, why did, everything he's going through, you have to take this away from him? Like, not the reality of it, but the kind of way that,
yeah.
And he turned to him and said, and I overheard him say, he said, General, with all, what I got to tell you is, I'm only half of him getting better. The other half lives in his heart and in his mind. He goes, I could treat 2 young kids exactly the same, and one won't make it and one will, and I have no idea why.
Wow.
And he said, I'll tell you this. All I know is it goes on in the mind of a young man. It goes, I need Michael with me every step of the way. And I need him to start focusing on the real and not the fictitious. He needs to get over that so we can start dreaming about the next part of life. And he goes, I believe in magic and I need him to believe in it with me.
Oh.
It was, my dad backed up and said, I hear you, we're with you.
Because your father's a poet.
What's that?
Because your father's a poet.
Well, this is the doctor saying this.
I know, but that's why your father believed it.
Yeah. And so Riley, he would come in late at night, the surgeon, midnight, he was on rant by himself in the dark, and we'd talk like that. And there was also, I leave you with this, there was a chaplain, because the military is big on giving you a full team, and you get a chaplain and a psychologist. And this guy would come in late at night and just sit in a chair and talk to me. And we would have some of the most beautiful conversations about life. And, I remember the first time I met him, he said, are you mad at God? I said, should I be? He said, well, a lot of people are when this happens. Why me? Let's talk about that. Like, he just was deep. He was a deep guy, like philosophy guy. So between him and my surgeons, these guys got my mind right. Like, to this day, those late night conversations, I can hear them, feel them. They were ministers, both of them.
Pastors, right? What?
They were healers.
Yeah. Oh, better.
They were not doctors, they were healers.
Yeah, yeah. And what was the answer to the question? Were you angry?
I was not interested. Was I angry? No. Because I don't think I had a version of God that God does things to people like that. Like, I don't think my version of the way it works is that he's moving pieces on a board and he did this to me. So I was not mad. To me, that was just an accident. Where I was mad, it's probably too strong a word, were 2 things. When I wanted the pain to go away. When I wanted a procedure to go well and it didn't. When I would pray hard for something to stop, but it wouldn't stop. Quickly, at least. That felt a little more like, wait a minute. Everybody told me, I've always been raised to believe if I sit here and do this, right, these things will get answered. And I remember talking to him a lot about that. And he gave me that great book, it, When Bad Things Happen to Good People, Harold Kushner's book, which made a real impression on me too. But he nursed me through that in a very healthy way. So a little bit of that. And then, I'm a little bit of a cosmic person. Like, I love the mysteries of the universe. And so I was a little bit like, is there something being said to me about this incident? Is there, I to this day, Riley, I'm years from it, I still think it speaks to me. Like, Are you listening what we need you to do now? I still hear that voice.
So do you perceive that you answer a call?
A little bit. I hesitate because that's sort of implies this clarity that it's.
Well, I don't intend clarity at all.
Yeah. So look, I believe that whether it's the creator or the universe or some internal sense of meaning, I believe that I hear whispers of go to that person, do more of this, do less of that. And I think I've probably reordered my whole life. I am less cravingly ambitious about external meritocracy. I am much more contented to be studying wisdom and trying to be competitive. I get more joy in life today from both the intellectual, curious pursuit of wisdom and the sort of ministering and caring for other people. Like the only reason I love my job to this day is not because of policy, it's because I get to care for 100 people and I like that. I like caring for them. I like caring for them during the pandemic. I like trying to motivate them. I like seeing them through their cancer diagnosis. I like all of that. That's the only reason I still do it. I'd retire. I don't need the money. And I could care less about politicians anymore. I really don't care. I just want to take care of these people.
Does that inform your acceptance of the board chairmanship at Mayo?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mayo has taken my breath away.
What do you mean?
It's the most thoroughly excellent institution I've ever encountered. It is the highest ratio of brilliance to humility I've ever encountered. Wow. I have never met a collection of people so smart, but so unarrogant, so selfless, so non-material, who work miracles in the pursuit of people's well-being. It is a God ministry on earth, the Mayo Clinic. It is, and interesting, if you know its history, as you probably do, it sort of was founded by the Mayo Brothers and the Sisters of St. Francis. It has this kind of fascinating organic Jesuit value component to it. It's not openly today that way, but the rootedness of values and moral compasses and integrity is so deep. So I feel like I found a place that actually is not cynical about that, lives values in a deeply committed way. And they've been doing it for 150 plus years, and they do it better than anyone on earth. And for me, it's the best board service I've ever had. And when I got a chance to be chairman, I was like, are you kidding me? I'd quit my job to do it. I need to send you, by the way, my dear friend, I gave the commencement address last week.
Where?
The medical school. They gave me an honorary degree, and I gave the commencement address the Mayo Clinic Medical School.
Wow.
And I wrote about my accident, and I wrote about my belief in wisdom and listening to the whispers of the world. You'll like it, I think. I got to send it to you.
Please do. I have to tell you, I went to seminary because I wanted to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been life altering for me, but perhaps the one session that I took that was a watershed was a course in systematic theology, and I sat in class with physicists.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Opened up an entirely new world to me.
Oh my God, Riley, you and me need to have lunch because this is my thing. So I love the awe. First of all, I love awe. We've been talking about this. I love awe. And physics is just the art of awe. And I eat up all of that stuff. Like Einstein practically gives me chills. Quantum mechanics blows my mind. Like, so, and I think it has the same artistry and spirituality that ancient wisdom traditions do, that religions done right do. I think these are all versions of the same thing. And when you cross-pollinate them, they are so beautiful.
See, this is what Walter Isaacson says.
Oh, 100%.
Somebody asked him, how do you determine the people you want to write about? He says, there are a lot of smart people in the world, but I like to find them where intelligence leaps off into creativity. And I'm convinced that the finest artists in the world, whether visual or performing, or poets or writers, and the Steve Jobs of the world are having the same conversation.
100%. They just paint with different brushes. It's the same.
That's it.
That's all it is. Have you ever read, do you know the physicist Carlos Rovelli by any chance?
No. Mm-mm.
So you must, I would send it to you right now. He has this beautiful book. He's written 3 that are beautiful. He's an Italian physicist. And he writes this very short book. And the first and most powerful one is called The 7 Laws of Physics. But he writes it like an Italian Renaissance writer. And he writes about the 7 key laws of physics, relativity, thermodynamics. Each has its chapter, but he writes about it like they are Michelangelo masterpieces. Mm-hmm. And he explains to you why Einstein's theory or formula is as beautiful as the Mona Lisa. Like, this is the way he accesses this for you in this beautifully romantic way. I read it and you will adore this little book. And he's written one about time that's also beautiful, and one about quantum that's also beautiful. But with this kind of Italian, it could be the Renaissance, But do grab it. If not, I'll send it to you.
I will. Thank you, Michael. I need to let you go. But thank you so much. I can't tell you what a joy this has been, but I don't want you to respond to this, but I have to tell you that one of the great invitations of my life was when Gail West picked up the phone and she said, "You've got to meet Mike Powell."
I remember.
And it has been. It's been wonderful.
It has been wonderful.
Thank you, Mike.
I have to say one thing, though. I know I'm not supposed to respond. I remember your journey. And I remember your choice to go to seminary. And I remember being so impressed with you choosing it. And I saw how it changed you.
Wow.
And I personally was also buoyed by your change. And you may not know this, but I have observed you in the post period, and I take some meaningful sustenance from watching your growth. Yours and Kyle Dixon's. People who I think believe that life is a journey of spiritual growth.
It is.
And you're 2 of my friends who really do that in a meaningful way. And I think you've helped me start pursuing the same kinds of things in some ways. So I wanted you to know that. I probably have never said that to you, but I have watched with great, great interest.
Thank you, Michael. Thank
you. It affects others.
Thank you. All right, babe.
Well, let's do this again for fun. Let's do it in person.
Okay. I'm going to send you a transcript of this so you can make whatever changes you want.
Okay. I'll be all fine. All right. Talk to you soon. Love you.